Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk Sarcoidosis. I'm your host, Dorothea Howard, and today I have in the studio is Miss Jasmine Wright, and she's an author, optimum health and wellness coach, and I actually met her at one of my events, the 4Cs event. So welcome to the studio, Jasmine.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So I really want to get right into it because
Okay.
what intrigued my interest, especially when we met last month, can you tell the viewers what is an optimal and health, an optimal health and wellness coach?
That's a mouthful, right?
Yes.
Well, optimal health and wellness coach is because when I first began my journey to become a life coach, I knew that I wanted to help everybody be well coming from the mind first, you know. So I did it in that aspect, thinking about your mental and knowing the things that I had been through, which led me to becoming a life coach. Also with the, I have health and wellness products as well. So I figured that that's the perfect way to marry the two, you know. So mental health, physical health, herbal supplements and things of that nature. So I just figure optimal health, that's what I'm here for, and empowerment, that's what I do as well.
Okay. Now, you have an interesting quote here. When you say begin with the end in mind, what does that mean?
Well, that's something that it has to do with goal setting. You know, like you know where you want to go, but you don't know how to get there, you know, and that's what I help people do. Like they know what they want to do and they don't necessarily know how to get there. So I figure if we start there and just work our way backwards, it'll be an easier process because you know where you're going. So when you know what you're focused on, you can laser focus on it and get there, you know, not necessarily smooth and easy, but just so you'll know what the end result is supposed to be.
So Jasmine, what made you get into coaching?
That's an interesting question. Well, I mean, outside of it's something that I've always done my whole life, and I never even knew it was, you know, a title attached to it or anything I could be paid for. I mean, honestly, before I found any of that out, I had experienced some things in my life which, you know, led to the writing of my book. I was going through, I was pregnant, I was going through a separation, divorce situation, and I was, you know, deciding on whether I wanted to get out of the military or, you know, re-enlist for the rest of my time. So I had, you know, some major life situations that was going on all at the same time, and I needed an outlet. And what I became was a student. I took the classes and I was a case study actually.
Oh,
And,
wow.
right, I was a case study, and it was easier for me to be a case study for them because I knew that they didn't know me and they didn't know, you know, my spouse, so they had unbiased opinions on how to help me deal with what was, you know, being laid in my lap and what I was walking into. So after I became a student and, you know, realized that, wait a minute, I do this for people every day, you know, and I'm learning from them and I have my own knowledge from what I've done. And then I started looking deeper into it and realized like, this is exactly where I should be. This is my calling.
So what made you focus on health and wellness?
Well, health and wellness, that came about, it's always something, like being in the military was something that I was made to do more so, but I realized that I watch a lot of my older people suffer with disease, suffer with illnesses. Even now, you know, my friends my age, you know, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, these different ailments that can actually be controlled if you take care of yourself better. And it's not easy, but it is a lifestyle change. I mean, we all have to change things if we want different outcomes. And I feel that if I can change myself and I can help others do it, why wouldn't I? You know what I'm saying? If I'm tired of putting my family in the ground, I'm tired of going to nursing homes visiting, and I'm sure everyone else is too. And if you know that you can eat things that can prevent things, or that can maybe slow down the progression of maybe something that's already inherited, you know, through blood and genes and all that stuff, then why not? You know, why wouldn't I help someone? I would want somebody to do it for me.
Right.
So,
And as you know, sarcoidosis, some of the symptoms of sarcoidosis, there's persistent dry cough, there's inflammation, there's also shortness of breath, fatigue, sometimes drastic weight loss, and you know, sometimes you feel like you have the flu, things of that nature. So with symptoms like that, what can your company do to help people with sarcoidosis?
Okay, well, first of all, let me make it clear, I'm no doctor.
Right.
I'm no doctor, but we do have all natural vegetable-based products that would help with some of those issues of fatigue, joint inflammation, and just different things that you all deal with as dealing with the disease. Yep.
Now, as far as mental health, because I know you and I had talked a lot about that, and some sarcoidosis patients, they really are depressed. And they're depressed for a lot of reasons. It could be the medications. It could be just the idea of actually being recently diagnosed with sarcoidosis, or even having sarcoidosis for a long time. Sometimes, you just slip into that depression. So what would you advise, and what would you do for patients who actually seek you out that has some type of mental problems that they're dealing with?
Well, again, I'm no doctor.
Right.
I'm no psychologist or psychiatrist. I'm a coach. I'm here to champion you.
Right.
I'm going to help you get through this thing one day at a time. You know where you are now, and you know where you're going, and I'm going to help you in between. We're going to, work on shifting your mind focus from thinking about the negative things. Because it's a lot, it begins in the head.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we'll start there first, and then, we'll just take it one day at a time, no rush, and whatever you want to do, whatever your pace is, I'm willing to work with you on that.
Okay. And I know that diet is important, because what we eat is everything, as far as our lifestyle. So in that respect, what would you recommend for patients who have sarcoidosis, and what kind of changes would you suggest to, people like myself?
Well, I mean, you're doing very good. You look awesome. So
Thank you.
I'm not sure for you, but I do know that exercise is very important. With shortness of breath, maybe not anything high impact, maybe like yoga or Tai Chi, or, something more dealing with, the flexibilities of your muscles and your joints. As far as food, I would say anti-inflammatory foods,
Right.
like your berries and your fruits and your veggies, and stay away from red meat and a lot of dairy. I think it's stay away from all dairy.
Okay. I currently have no consumption of dairy.
That's a struggle though, because sometimes but
It definitely is.
yeah, it is.
So
It is.
I
But
agree.
they have, vegan cheese. It's probably not as tasty, but if you're doing this to change your lifestyle.
Right.
So there are some things that you're going to have to sacrifice, but it'll be worth it in the end, because you won't have the symptoms as frequently if you just make small changes to your diet. Add
Right.
wheat, or if you can, soy, stuff like that.
And that's true, because a lot of things really is in your head. It's your mind. It's the way that you think of how you perceive yourself.
Correct.
And the other thing is, it's like you said, the negativity. So if you think positive and you always think, hey, I'm going to do this, and not let that illness take you over.
I'm going to get through this.
You just have to say to yourself, I can do this. I will get through it, and no matter what, I will make sure that I don't think that I have a death sentence, even
Correct.
though sarcoidosis is a debilitating disease.
Yes.
And it is fatal, and
Yes.
it can be fatal. But again, it's really our mindset. It's how we think about the actual disease, and we don't let the disease define us.
And a lot of people don't get educated about the disease. A lot of people just rely on the information they get from their doctors, or even other people that have sarcoidosis. It just depends. If you're not educating yourself, if you're not making sure you have, you're educating your mind and you're feeding your body good food, and just keeping a positive, upbeat attitude, even in the midst of the pain and everything you experience with it. I can imagine that's very hard. But you have to champion yourself as well. You have to know that you're going to win.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's very important.
I totally agree, because with this illness, you really do have to educate yourself. And everyone is different. You know,
Correct.
because it attacks any major organ of your body, sometimes multiple organs of your body, you know, each person is different. And so what may work for me may not work for the next person. And that's why everybody, they really have to find their own balance.
And you know what, that's even in life. You know, I say that all the time, live by the means of you.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have to,
yes.
you
I
have
like
to do
that.
what, thank you. You have to do what works for you, and it may not work for everyone else.
Right.
But as long as it's a part of you that you have to nurture.
Right.
So you have to, like you said, educate yourself, and with the disease or with something that you're pursuing in life. You just have to make sure that it's what you want to do and what works best for you.
Right. Now, I know you recently wrote a book.
I did.
And it's called Five Diamonds. First of all, I like that title, Five
Thank you.
Diamonds. So what to do, you said 5 diamonds, what to do when you don't know what to do.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
how did that begin, this whole concept?
Well, actually, it began with me finding finding out who I was, going through my journey with the divorce and the pregnancy and the separation of the military, and being in a state where the only people I had was my military family. That's where all that began.
But that's huge, though, military family.
And it is huge, but guess what?
Right.
It's, when you get out, it's really not.
Right.
It's the people that, the core people that you've kept in contact with. So yes, it's huge on the grand scheme of things, but when you're in a city,
I get it.
So it is big but small.
Right.
But yeah, that's where that began, and it was just things. Diamonds, of course, as you know, are a girl's best friend. So these 5 jewels that I dropped in the book helped me get through my rough patch, helped me get through my storm, and they still do. When I come across things or when I run into challenges, I still do everything I mentioned in that book today.
Right.
And it helps me, rebalance.
Okay, so it sounds like something like a journal.
Yeah.
Your book is a daily journal.
It's like what I did was I broke my situations. I broke one situation down.
Okay.
And, I mentioned all of them in there, but I just broke one situation down, and I went through step by step how I conquered it, how I overcame it. But then I applied those same 5 diamonds to other aspects in my life.
Right.
And that's how I overcame a lot of things in my life. And like I said, I still use it to this day. And I just think it'd be really good to share with everyone, because sometimes we don't know what to do. It does spin out of control.
That's true.
And there are things we have no control over, which I'm a planner. I thought I had control over everything.
Right.
I do my 5-year plan. I break that out by months, by days. So I'm that type of person. But
Right.
when those things come up for me,
Absolutely.
and I'm just like, oh my God, this was not in my plan. I'm looking at my notebook like I didn't write this down.
Right.
So,
Right.
so when they come up, I need to know how to handle them in order to keep my sanity. So I figure, hey, with the crazy things that's going on in this world today, we all could use all the help we could get.
You're right about that. Now, the next important question, because I know it was a struggle for me initially when I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis, clinically diagnosed 32 years ago. But I do believe I had it a lot, maybe 5 or 6 years prior to me being clinically diagnosed. So sometimes it's hard to share your story. And I know initially, because I really didn't know anyone who had, and then I met someone, and you would have thought I won the lottery when I found out that, oh my goodness, I met some other person that has this crazy disease. What made you want to come out now and share your story? Because I know it's hard, because it was hard for me. Now I'm fine with it, because I use myself as an example to help other people and to help save lives. So what made you have that turning point, like this is time now for me to share my story?
The turning point for me was when I realized that getting a divorce isn't necessarily the end of the world. Being a single mom isn't, everything comes with a scarlet letter. Everybody's so condemning of all these situations that happen in life, maybe because they don't understand them and they've never been through them, but it's not fair. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to let other women that are my age, younger, older, men, I just wanted to let everyone know that it's okay. Like, we all go through these things in life, and we don't have to be hard on ourselves. And just because it didn't work out the first time, we don't have to condemn ourselves to being alone, or, you know, never wanting any more kids. You know, just the fears that we grow in life and the things that we've heard throughout life kind of stick in our minds. So when I first was going through my divorce, it was like I had people that I was really close to that it kind of put a bridge in between us because I was no longer married. You know, I had people that looked at me different. Like, I had the scarlet letter. Like, you know, it was just crazy. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I couldn't believe that I was actually being treated that way.
Right.
Not so much forefront, but kind of on a sneaky level. Like, they would do it kind of on the low. Like, they wouldn't be, it wouldn't be upfront, like, I don't want you around. It'd be like, oh yeah, well, you know, just the whole brush off situation. And because I was a single mom, you know, in an area where I had no family, it's like, well, you know, I don't want to deal with her because she got a kid and she want me to play daddy.
Right.
So it was those type of issues
you were going through those type of things.
Right. But nobody, like I said, nobody really was too upfront about saying it, because I would have handled the situation right then and there. But it was more or less like I wanted to put it in writing, because these are things that women go through, and we already have so many complexes and so many things, and the world is just so crazy now, you know? So it's not fair to us as moms. You know, we already do thankless things, and you know, just to let women know that they are still appreciated, and they can still be and have and do whatever they want to do, regardless if you're married, you're single, you have kids, you got multiple kids. You know, you get out of the military, you become civilian, you get a regular job, and you know, it's just the transitions in life, you know. So just to let everybody know it's okay that we all fall.
And you know, and it's not really falling, because you're talking to a woman that's been in your shoes. I'm a divorced woman, and I raised two beautiful daughters who are doing phenomenally well.
Awesome.
And so clearly you've done very well.
And you know what, you're
raising
right.
your daughter by yourself. And even though you've gone through that situation, it actually made you become stronger.
And you know what, and you're right, and that's another thing. I didn't mean fall.
Right.
I didn't mean fall.
No.
It's just changing shifts.
That's it.
You know, it's just
That's
changing
it.
gears in life, and it's necessary for growth. It's not easy all the time, it's not pretty all the time, but it's very necessary. So, you know, I had that fear for my son. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm used to being around kids, because you know, I have a younger sister, and, you know, little brothers and cousins and all that. But it was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this by myself. I knew I could do it because I was raised in a single parent household.
Right.
So it wasn't that I couldn't do it. I just had that fear because that's not what I saw. It wasn't in my 5-year plan.
Right.
It's not what I
We
saw
all
for
have
myself.
a plan that, you know, I'm sure that God looks at and laughs.
Right, exactly, right. So
I'm glad you think you have the plan.
Right,
you know?
but as I was going through all of that, I realized that God placed me in that situation because it was time for me to find out what I was made of.
Right.
It was time for me to, you know, spread my wings. I don't regret it. I wouldn't take it back. I'm happy that it, you know, came out the way that it did, and I'm blessed, and my son's father is okay, and I have my beautiful baby, and that's what it is, and we're happy.
And that's the way you should be. So, you know, even for the people who are divorced and going through a storm, because I want to ask you about that, going through their journey and their storm, whether it's their illness, and, you know, some people, I hate to say it, they get divorced because they're ill.
Right.
You know, sometimes spouses or significant others actually leave them because they can't handle it. And that's the thing. But even in the midst of that storm, as long as you have faith and you look at those kids, because let me tell you, I was divorced. I was going through a divorce. I had 2 daughters, you know, have 2 daughters. And at that time, I never had that fear overcome me, because every time I looked in my daughter's eyes, I knew I had to take charge.
That's what it was.
I knew I had to take charge, and I had to make sure, because it was on me. And I lovingly, I mean, I have a great family, of course.
Right.
And family always helped me through a lot of things.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
even without that, just knowing that I had to be the one with the soldier uniform on, because I had 2 girls looking up to me and looking for me to be their role model. And I did not want to disappoint. And I think today, if you ask them, I don't think I did disappoint.
That is awesome.
You know, and
That's
today
really great.
I just feel like, you know, they know what it's like. And so never fear these things, because sometimes it's meant to be. And we try to fight it. We try to fight it. So when I went through my storm, you know, praise God, I came out of it.
Amen.
So now when you went through your storm, how did you make your change?
Because I knew that it was it was temporary. I just didn't know how I was going to come out, but I knew I was coming out because, like you said, I had to look at my son every day.
Yes.
And it's me and him. You know, when the curtains close and everyone goes home, it's just me and him.
Yes.
So me, him, and God, I should say. So I knew that I had to do it, and I didn't know how it was going to be done, but I just knew I had to move forward. As I cried for about 2 years straight, and that's being serious. Like, I was really, really sad, but I knew that I couldn't stop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sad is not going to pay the bills. It's not going to, you know, feed the kid, none of that. So my son's father is very active in his life, you know, not to take away from him,
Right.
but just me as a woman going through a situation that I never saw myself being in. You know, it does a lot of things to you. It plays tricks with your mind. You know, you think, I'm not worthy. Well, if I would have done this, this, and this, and that, you know, you have those negative thoughts. But how I combated those negative thoughts was because I fed my mind and my soul positive things.
That's it. And I mean, and you're right. That's what you have to do. And I'm glad you mentioned about your son's dad, and he's, you know, stepping up and doing everything he's supposed to do.
Yep, he's with him right now.
You know, and I have to say the same for my ex-husband. I mean, clearly there was nothing that he would not do for his daughters, and he's still the same way today.
Amazing.
You know, and so it had nothing to do with that. And that's the thing, that they had their father in their life, and he's still in their life.
That's a blessing for them.
And that is a blessing for them. And actually, that helped them to transition and cope because he was in their life. You know, so some people are not fortunate to have that, but it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the
Not
world.
at all.
So, you know, again, it's the mindset, and it's what we believe, and we have to believe in ourselves, because nobody can do that for you. Because if you don't believe in you, nobody else will.
Exactly.
So everything starts with us. No matter what we go through in the storms, everything starts with how we think.
And what we allow ourselves to be to ingest. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, with all the negativity in the world, with everything that's going on TV, and everybody trying to be fit the status quo and keep up with the Joneses and all that, it does. It plants seeds in your mind. And if you don't combat it with nourishing your soul with good things.
That's right. You have to, because I mean, I was sick. You said you had a lot of things going on, but my transition, I was sick. But I didn't let it stop me.
And what did you do?
You know, like I told you before, I just kept being motivated. My girls, that was my motivation. That's all I needed. Between God and my girls, that's all I needed.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have faith.
Yeah.
I have faith. So every day was looking at my girls, and I said, I can't disappoint them. And I know God didn't bring me that far into everything that I was in to let me down. So I knew I could make it. I knew I could make it.
Yeah.
I didn't fear that I wouldn't.
And that's the mindset you have to have when you know that you're going to come through. Yeah, it's sad, and yeah, it's hard, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to have your moment, but let it be a moment.
Right. Right. Don't let it take over your life.
You got to put that in the rearview mirror. You know what I'm saying? You got to move forward, because if not, then what are you going to do? Just die? Like, you can't just stop life. Life is going to go on.
That's true.
You know, so.
And when you wrote your book, what lesson did you want your readers to learn from your book?
Well, I want them to learn all 5 of the lessons.
The 5 diamonds?
Yes, I'm all 5 diamonds. Keep them in your pocket. I just want them to know that life is not going to be easy, you know, and you have people that are experiencing what you've experienced, and it's nothing out of the norm. You know, it's all in how you handle the situation. It's all in the fallout, you know. You can figure out what to do as you're going through. You can figure out how to become a better person as you're going through your storm if you just focus, pay attention to the journey and the lessons that you're learning versus looking at the situation. You know, like with my divorce, I can look and cry about it, and, you know, I got a divorce, but I looked through the journey. I learned who I was. I learned what I could do. I learned that I could stand. I already knew I was strong. That wasn't a question. You know, I already knew I had faith, like you said. That wasn't a question either. But I was just married and, you know, in your married mode, you know, and that's just what it was. So I knew I could do it. I just didn't know how.
So tell people before we end the show, if they're going through a storm, and whether it's, you know, divorce, and they were just diagnosed with, you know, a terminal illness, or they're having financial struggles, and it's just life in general. They're doing the life game in general, and things happen and knock you down, and you get back up. What would you suggest to the viewers right now when they're going through all these changes in their life?
I would suggest you connect with your higher being. I would suggest you get him on the main line. You know, remain in communication there first.
Right.
Then I would suggest that you get around positive people, support group, whatever it may be. Refocus your thoughts, not on the storm. You know, think about what's after the storm. Focus on how we're going to get around the storm. You know, because you know you're going to have to get through it. So it's all in how you do it. And from there, when you focus on life after the storm, what it could be or what you want it to be, then that begin with the end in mind.
Right.
That's where you start at, and you start making your plan, and you start attacking those goals one day at a time.
Right.
You know, I feel with my 5-year plan, I'm on a timeline in my mind, you know, but that's not good. That's me putting pressure on myself.
That's true.
But I also realize that I'm putting pressure on myself and that I can scale back and pump my brakes a little bit and enjoy life. You know, and that's what you have to do, because when it's all over, you're not getting it back.
That's true. That is true. Well, you know, Jasmine, for the viewers that's watching, they can wait for the credits and they can find out how to contact you.
Yes.
You know, for products or counseling and things of that nature. And just so they can feel better, you know, for motivation and support.
Yep, empower. I'm here to
and
empower.
empowerment to know that you can be contacted because you've gone through some things in your life.
Yes.
And this way you can connect emotionally with people that contact you because of what you've actually gone through in your life. And the other thing that I wanted to say was thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come here and to empower, you know.
Thank you so much for having me.
And, you know, and I want to say this too. We're talking about things that happen to women, but they happen to men as well.
Very much so.
They happen to men as well. So even men,
yes,
if you're out here watching the show and you're going through the same things that Jasmine just spoke of, feel free to give her a call, because we know that it happens to you guys too.
Yeah,
it's not just a woman. Yeah, it's not just a woman's thing.
Correct.
You know, men get sick.
Yes.
They get divorced. Yes. You know, whatever. All kinds of things happen to them just as much as it happens to us. So men, you're not alone. You know, so don't be afraid to contact you and to find out more about how you really can help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as I always say, because yes, I do have sarcoidosis, I chose not to let sarcoidosis dictate my life. And I want you to do the same. So anybody that's just been diagnosed, or someone who's had sarcoidosis for as long as they can remember, or as long as I even had it, just stay motivated and empower other people, because that's where you're going to get your gratification and strength.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your day.